everyone, it's Shane Conto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland Retrospective here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network. And this is my weekly show where my guests and I each pick a film related in some shape or form, and hopefully by the end of this episode, you have two films to go check out. And joining me, it is the first Thursday of the month. So that means it's my wife, Jess. Jess, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome, Shane.
And we're also joined by our cat, Katie.
I'm sure she'll have opinions to share at some point.
Yes, she wants a lot of affection. Kind of like Bill Murray, who is the subject of our double feature.
Wow.
Yep, you're welcome for that segue.
That was a good one.
And we are starting first with 2003's Lost in Translation from director Sofia Coppola, who also wrote this film, starring Bill Murray as an actor in Tokyo who's doing some commercials. But, he's lonely. He lacks the zest for life and is kind of bored with his life back home.
We're leaning heavy on the ennui.
Yes, very much ennui. And he develops this connection with Scarlett Johansson's character, Charlotte, who is a wife left to her own devices by her photographer husband, played by Giovanni Ribisi, who may or may not be boinking on a Ferris. We never really get a clear distinction of that. Really, in my head canon, I totally think he is.
He's really batting out of his league on both ends there.
This is renowned Friends star Giovanni Ribisi, so you never know, Jess.
He's a putz in that show, too.
But, Jess, what are your general thoughts on two lonely souls coming together in Lost in Translation?
Boy, could I see this being from the same decade that Garden State was from?
Sure was.
That's it. That's all my thoughts. No, that's not true. It's fine. I mean, I don't know that. I think if I had seen it 10, 15 years ago when I was kind of angsty and more like Scarlett Johansson, although not married. We don't know how old she's supposed to be. She's 18 in real life, but she's lived a lot of life if she's 18 in the movie.
Well, she's been through college and stuff like that. Okay. So I think she's supposed to be, 20s? At least into her 20s. But yeah, Scarlett Johansson is 18 in this movie, so.
Boy, does she look like it. She's a baby girl.
Yep.
I think if I saw it back then when I was a little more lost, I think I would have related more to it. I didn't dislike it. I just, at this point in my life, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I ain't got time to bleed. I ain't got time to be sad and existential. That's why I'm on antidepressants.
Which Jess does that anyway. So
yeah, for like 5 minutes. Not how long was this? 2 hours?
It was an hour and 42 minutes.
Not for an hour and 42 minutes.
It was an economic length of time for a film like this, and
get why people like it.
It's fine. I think some of the most impactful moments. Well, first off, I think Sofia Coppola has a very distinct atmosphere around this film. I think she really captures this feeling of there's a distance about things. There's this feeling of just kind of like floating out in space. And especially for something that both of these characters are in a heavily populated city.
Yep.
And feel so isolated in that way.
Neither of them speak Japanese.
Yeah. And they're both sad. They're both sad boys.
Just the saddest boys.
Yep. And I appreciate the connection they develop. Like, is it supposed to be full-blown romantic? There's certainly I think it's left more ambiguous on purpose. Certainly there is some kind of attraction there. But both Scarlett Johansson, who is a fantastic actor, and definitely showed it in this film as well, even though she was 18 years old. And then, of course, it's Bill F. and Murray. So
all the charisma.
Which all of the sequences where he's filming the commercials.
I love those. Those are the funniest parts.
Just the way he just mugs at the camera and deals with the feedback he's being given.
But is also dead behind the eyes.
Yep. And it's just like he's like half-heartedly leaning into it. You feel like he's done this rodeo show before and he's kind of done.
He's over it.
He's over it. And, it's just little details that hit so well, like the fact that like he has pins on the back of his suits to like tighten them up.
Mm.
And that whole sequence where they sent him an escort and she's
Oh
like
yeah, that was really funny too.
and
No, Mr. I forgot what his name was.
and she's just
No,
screaming,
don't and dragging him up. I have to say props to her. He is not a small man, and she
takes him down.
I believe that if she knew judo, she could just completely like capacitate him. I mean, he's just trying to get away, but she's like,
Which that sequence is so hilarious. And I feel like this film really captures the energy and the life, and especially the nightlife of Tokyo.
mm. We
And
do love the Crane Game arcade.
yes,
I
Jess
believe
does indeed love the Crane Game arcade.
I don't know if it was Taito Station, but it got close. They show Shibuya a lot too.
And they go to a strip club and like Scarlett
Excuse,
Johansson.
it is a dance lesson club, Shane.
Was it really?
That's what he says to her or whatever. He's like saying those guys are taking dance lessons as her
Oh
baby
yes.
titties are out.
Yes.
The
And
dancer's like on a pole with
and
titties.
like he tries to say goodbye to her as she's like upside down naked in front of him. It's just that whole entire dynamic.
Nothing on
And
the inside, nothing on the outside.
there's very minimal conflict between the two of them. I feel like that where there is conflict it kind of gets resolved pretty quickly.
Just
Like
kind of floating down the river together.
they just have a this really awkward lunch together. And I feel like in that moment their age gap felt the most
Mm-hmm.
obvious because she's kind of being like pouty and like not dealing with
He's
it
over
and
it.
he's so over it.
I don't blame
And
her.
then they make up at the fire drill uh they have outside of the
I
hotel.
love how polite the Japanese alarms are.
Mhm.
It's like, please exit. And here they're just like, merp, merp.
But I think this film really captures the beauty of Japan. I think Anna Faris sticks out like a sore thumb, but I think
She's supposed to,
like
I
I
think.
feel like yeah,
I think
and
they contrast with everything else. Everything's so elegant, and they're like, oh, frat
everything
bro.
is so somber too. Like everything's very like this level feeling, and she's just like, ah, just bringing this whole other energy level. The karaoke sequence is pretty iconic at this point, and it all leads up to this very specific ending that closed captioning ruins.
Oh,
Because like I don't think you're supposed to know what he says to her. And you all you know is the way that it makes her feel. And I think that's important. But no, we had closed
well,
captioning
it's
on
like
and
the
you
end of
can see
the when Michael. I mean, what I consider the end of The Office. When Michael Scott leaves and he's at the airport, you don't know what they say to each other. It's part of the beauty.
yeah.
We love ambiguity in this household.
But this film, I think, has a lot of vibes. It has a lot. It's definitely a film that you're not looking for like
It's
structured
not a pick me
narrative.
up.
There's no driving force forward. It's just two people
It's a little slice of life
very lost in their lives.
in translation, one might say.
Well, that's the tricky thing too, as you pointed out, neither of them speak Japanese, so that part is challenging
Well,
to process as well.
she's the only one that really tries to like absorb the Japanese culture because she goes off by herself and like hangs out at a shrine
Yeah.
and
And I thought that was a really nice moment, and then she tries to talk about it and
he's over it. Yeah,
and like I don't think her husband's really
no,
interested in anything she's doing on this trip.
he strikes me as just dumb. Like that's his one character trait is dumb.
Well, his wife's gonna get stolen by Bill Murray, and then he's gonna F around and find out.
That he can
So
find out Anna Faris doesn't want to actually marry him,
and then he can wind up with nobody.
or
That's
this
the sequel.
40-year-old teacher from whatever
There you
plot
go.
point in Prince.
Oh my. Well, our other film we are going to talk about today is 1993's Groundhog Day.
Ah, sorry.
And this is from director Harold Ramis, starring Bill Murray, Andy McDowell, Chris Elliott, My Strong Hands, and Roland Shit.
I was gonna say
Um,
Producer Streak.
yep. And Stephen Tobolewski, Brian Doyle Murray. a lot of familiar faces for
Who's
sure.
Ned?
Stephen
Oh,
Tobolewsky.
okay.
And this film is about a narcissistic, self-centered weatherman finds himself in a time loop on Groundhog Day. And this is like the time loop movie for sure. And
It's a contained loop too.
you have Sonny and Cher.
Oh yeah, I
Babe,
can't hear that song without I got you,
I
babe.
got you, babe.
You kind of hate that song by the end. I kind of hated that song by the end, to be honest
You
with
certainly did when he that one part where he just
you. I know.
smashes the radio.
I do love the streaks in this, where you get like the wanting to die streak, the existential streak, and then the destroying the clock streak.
Yeah, so you do get there's a couple of somber ones. Like obviously it's played for some kind of laugh, but like where he's suicidal.
So
Which it
dark.
starts with him, right, stealing the
So,
groundhog
oh yeah.
and then driving a truck off the quarry
Yep.
and just
Yep. I love that part. It's because he thinks killing the groundhog kills the loop, right? But it doesn't.
no,
That groundhog's a great actor.
and then the toaster in the
That is
bathtub,
so dark.
the jumping off the clock tower, getting hit by a car,
The toast one's the darkest for me because he just walks into breakfast and that poor lady is trying to be nice to him. He just
drives a
whole toast
toaster.
and takes it and the lights go off. 10 out of 10.
You have that, and then you have the seducing women one, which is pretty messed up.
Yeah.
And that's really hitting on some of his worst characteristics.
Mhm.
And I feel like the only reason we're still in on this movie is because it's Bill Murray.
Yeah.
And we
It's
can
despicable. I mean, in the beginning, you're right.
yeah.
Narcissistic, I feel like, captures it the best, and nobody really. I mean, like, she kind of. I can remember her name. Rita. Rita kind of likes him, but she likes everybody, so like he's not special in that way. She at least laughs at him, but nobody really likes him.
Mhm.
He's smarmy.
It's it's one of those kinds of things where it's like Bill Murray's like one of the few actors that can make this work because he is such an
He's
asshole.
such a dick.
But like Bill Murray is a dick, but we love him because he's so charmingly dickish.
God, that part with the second where he gets impatient when he's trying to date Rita and he like has to do it over.
And he gets like
He
super
rushes
manic.
everything. Oh my god, it's so scary. And she's
Yeah.
the only one that like well not the only one, but I feel like a lot of people in the town put up with a lot. Like the lady at the bed and
Hmm.
breakfast.
Yes.
He is just a dickhead to her
Yep.
and she just kind of puts up with it. But Rita doesn't. She leaves. She
Hmm.
smacks him and she leaves. Good for you, Rita.
That
What an
that
icon.
slapping montage is pretty great.
The slapping.
Well, and it's such a great moment where she realizes he's remembering things
Mm-hmm.
and like doing this whole entire thing to take advantage of her.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's freaky. I mean, that would be freaky for anyone.
it's one of those kinds of things where she sees through this veil.
Oh yeah, she's nice, but she's not dumb.
And I think that's one of the things that really reinforces her character. And it's even more better payoff when they finally do like connect, which
Mm-hmm.
on some level it's just like it does take him completely changing as a human
Oh
being.
yeah, someone did the math. I think they said he was stuck there for I don't remember how many years,
It's
but
like 10,000 years.
yeah, every skill that he masters, they gave like 10 years to master it.
Yeah, it's wild.
I also love the piano lesson lady where, you see him getting better at piano at the end. He's like an absolutely accomplished pianist and she's like, "That's my
My
like
student.
there's nothing weird about this guy showing up to your house and saying, "Can I have a piano lesson?" And he's just completely great artist.
Yes, and then his ice sculpting and stuff like
Yep.
that. And
French poetry,
that
18th
that
century.
final day does really hit well
Oh yeah.
in terms of like his real life brother who he saves
Mm-hmm.
from choking and stuff like that, and the flat tire,
Mm-hmm. I
and
love that with the old ladies in the car. They're just like, "Oh, Ethel, what did you hit something?" And all of a sudden, yeah,
and then you have Michael Shannon, a young Michael Shannon,
a baby boy.
baby Michael Shannon getting WrestleMania tickets, which specifically would probably be WrestleMania 10 live from Madison Square Garden because I know. So but it's such a
The kid falling out of the tree.
kid falling out
I
of the
forget
tree.
that. He tells him he's like every day with, and also Ned. Watch out for that first step.
And he
The
buys.
beauty.
Ned is one of the best recurring supporting characters in this film, and Stephen Tobolewsky just nails just how insufferable and obnoxious. Am I right? Am I right?
I love. I absolutely love the part too where he like out crazies him, and
Yeah.
Ned's just like, ah, I gotta
And the
go.
way he runs away is
It's
hilarious.
like the early '90s Naruto run.
It's all the specific little details of that character that makes it so memorable and fun.
And this movie in general, I mean, it really is like I get where Bill Murray's. I've been both Bill Murray's, not to complain on my own, not got to my own home, but like I've been various versions of Bill Murray in this because I get it. I grew up until I was 12. I lived in a tiny town, maybe had one stoplight, and like I get the small town bullshit that they
Mm-mm.
highlight in this movie, and I get why he hates it, but it's nice. I know Dr. Schluler loved to say that for who directed
Carl Ramis.
Harold Ramis got a lot of fan letters when this came out saying this is the closest thing to my religion I've ever seen.
Mhm.
Um, so
It's so interesting, and like Harold Ramis has a little cameo as the doctor, um, and he goes to the psychiatrist and just starts punching the pillow on his face.
isn't he
And
like a therapist in training? He's like, I'm not trained for that.
how about we make an follow-up appointment for tomorrow? And that's the point where
There is no tomorrow.
he starts punching his face. Um, Chris Elliott, fun character actor, comedian, and like Larry is both unlikable and so like overhated by Phil specifically.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve all the hate. I mean, he
No,
maybe a little, maybe lightly bully him, but
yeah,
don't completely bully him.
and I really like Andy McDowell. Like, I'm not gonna say Andy McDowell's like one of the best actors of her generation, but
She's
like
great in this.
I do really in the films that I do really enjoy that she's in, I think she does a really nice job, like this and For Weddings and a Funeral,
Hmm.
Sex, Lies, and Videotapes. And like that's all like 80s into early 90s. And now her daughter, Margaret Qualley,
Hmm. I
is
didn't know that.
making it big.
You told
Um
me that. I knew that. I just don't remember.
and it's so fun. Well, and even just looking at them now, like Andy McDowell has aged
Oh
gracefully,
yeah,
especially with her gray hair.
she looks great.
And now Hugh Grant looks like a ball sack.
That's every British
His
man.
his words, not mine.
That's the fate of every Englishman.
Well, yeah, look at King William or Prince William. He's aging like milk, and a lot of people are very upset
He
about
was never the hottie though.
it.
Harry
Yeah,
Harry was always the hottie.
but still.
Because Harry was something something Diana's equestrian something. I don't actually believe that.
But this film is not only absolutely hilarious, it has so many laughs in it, but there's just such an emotional weight to it.
Oh yeah, you
Like
laugh.
that sequence
Yep.
with the homeless man
You're like, haha, funny movie, haha, Bill Murray funny, and then it just rips your heart out.
where he can't save that guy and he's like pounding on his chest in the alley. And because he has to go on this journey.
Mhm.
And this is a long ass journey. Like, like that this was like thousands of years that he was doing this. And it's wild. That's insane to me. And you can just see like there's moments he has fun with it with like the Jeopardy.
Yeah, sitting with all the old people.
Yeah.
I love when they clap and he's just dead behind the eyes.
There's a lot of moments where Bill Murray's dead behind the eyes,
Oh
and
yeah,
like
there really
the whole
is.
sequence where he's just eating all the food,
Yep. Oh my god. And
all the food,
I love that he offers it to everybody.
and he completely eats. What was that? Some kind of Danish or something, and like it just shoves the
So
whole entire
rubber.
thing in his mouth. It just this. I honestly believe this is Bill Murray's best showcase of his talents for sure. And there's so many great supporting characters. Harold Ramis, rest in peace, was a really talented director in terms of being able to channel a lot of different kinds of things. And obviously, most people are going to know him as Egon from Ghostbusters,
Uh
but like he had stuff like Analyze This, Bedazzled, Vacation, Caddyshack. Like he made some really fun comedies. And I feel like this is his best film that he directed in terms of like going past this just being a fun time.
Oh yeah.
Because there's so much depth to this movie, but you can just watch this and just have an unbelievably fun
Oh yeah.
time
I
from start
notice.
to finish.
I feel like I notice, and this is a cliche, but I notice something new every time. I've seen this a decent amount.
Well, there's a lot of detail. Like the
Oh yeah.
screenplay for this from Harold Ramis and Danny Rubin is insane,
Oh
just
yeah.
from start to finish. But so it sounds like Jess would recommend one of these Bill Murray films. I would recommend two of these
Well,
Bill
I
Murray
think Lost in
films.
Translation is a fine watch,
So
just not for me.
very fair. What do you have to say, Katie?
Nothing because she tried to smack me.
Katie did swipe at Jess because Jess was being a little aggressive petting her while we
I
were recording.
pay a lot of money to protect those hips, so
But Katie here staring at us, being like, please let us out of the office. Well, so maybe it's time to wrap up our episode. But we're going to wrap up, and then I'm going to go ask Jess what she wants to do for next month's podcast, and she's going to love it. But Jess, thank you so much for coming on.
you're welcome.
And thank all of you for listening. Make sure to like, comment, and share on this episode. What's your favorite Bill Murray film, Bill Murray performance? Is it Zombieland, where it's Bill F. and Murray? And please make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast, because the SPM Crew Podcasting Network is ever expanding with all new shows coming your way. And we're always looking for new shows and also collaborators on our different shows. This one's pretty set, but I certainly have a lot of people interested in the Wasteland watch list, which is great. So please make sure to check out that and see the nice wide range of people that I have coming on to talk about completely random movies. And if you like our logo, please check out High Flyer Creative for all of your digital marketing needs. But most importantly, thank you as always for tuning in and supporting the Wasteland Retrospective here on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network.